Let me take this time, so shine my light, shine the light, shine the light.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Light Leadership Diaries, episode number 7. We have a fantastic episode for you today. We have some really intriguing guests from different backgrounds we're really going to enjoy. Tabani, it's that time again.
So excited again. And we always say this, that, we've got some amazing guests, but I think based on the episodes that we've done so far, I think everyone can attest to that we've had some amazing guests. And once again, I think we're going to have a fire conversation today. Lots of learning for people. I think I'm really excited once again to have these esteemed guests join us today.
So guys, make sure that you have your pen, your paper, your iPad, your laptop, whatever it is that you want to use to document this, because you're going to be in for a fantastic 30 to 45 minutes of learning, of engagement, and most importantly, in helping your journey in either your entrepreneurial space or in your FMCG or your normal workspace. So guys, sit back, relax, and take in all the information that's coming your way. So Tabani, like we normally do.
Yeah. So how we usually start the show is basically we have our guests introduce themselves to the audience, and then we'll introduce you. So just for us to obviously show, yes, there are things that we want to show because of how you view yourself and how we view you, And so I'll start with Katlego. If you can introduce yourself to the guests in terms of who you are.
I thought you may just go for ladies first, given that you need to be conscious of, conscious of this, gender challenges. The only lady on the panel. Let's start with her. How's that?
Oh wow! Okay, so my name is Wanda, but most people call me Wanda. I think in industry, I'm genuinely known as Wanda. I'm a mom of 2 girls. I currently work in the energy sector, but majority of my work experience has been in FMCG. But in the last 4 years, I've been in the energy space. That's who I am. I head up an incredible business for one of the big oil majors, and I look after the convenience retail. So that's what I currently do at the moment.
Thank you for that introduction, Wanda. Like most of our guests, you'll find that Wanda really shortchanged us in terms of who she is and what she's done. So if you could please allow me to introduce to you Wanda. Nokwanda Mbandra, affectionately known by her friends as Wanda. Wanda studied at UCT, where she did a Bachelor of Science and Honors, majoring in Economics and Finance. She then started her career at Unilever through the grad program, and she started as an assistant key account manager for drug, looking after clicks as well as Discount. She was in this role for about a year, and then she then moved on to become an assistant, customer marketing manager. And she was in this role also for, close to about a year to 18 months. She then became the brand manager for in the home care division for Skip and for Omo.
Yes. And Sunlight Laundry Bar.
And Sunlight Laundry Bar.
Yes.
Wow. And this is, it was a role, it's a very big portfolio for the Unilever business. And she did exceptionally well in this role. After this role, she then decided to take her talents. I think she got a bit of a sweet tooth. And that's when she then moved on and she joined the Tongaat Hewlett Sugar business as a brand manager. And she was in this role, she was in this company for about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Of which after that, she became a return soldier. We call them return soldiers. We call them boomerangs, people who work for an organization, take their talent somewhere, and then somehow find themselves back in an organization where they actually started. So she came back to Unilever as a senior category manager, heading up deals as well as hair, which is quite a significant portfolio within the personal care space.
Yeah.
After being in this role for about 2.5 years, that's when she decided, the personal care, home care space is out of her system. And that is when she then joined South African Breweries as the executive assistant in the sales and distribution GM.
Yeah.
And this is just to give everybody context. When SMB brings you in as an EA, is what they call it. It's somebody who they've really seen as high talent. Number one, and number two, they bring you into that role mainly to come in for you to land properly. They'll put you on a couple of projects, and then from there they then formalize you, put you into the role that they've kind of identified for you. So she did this role for about 6 months, and then from there she headed up probably one of the biggest channels in the breweries, which is taverns.
Yeah.
So she was then the head of the channel manager for taverns. She was there for a year in this role, and then that's when she then I think because of her passion and her energy, she then joined the energy space. So she joined Shell South Africa as the alliances manager. She was in this role for about 18 months, where she made such an impact that she then got promoted to her current role, which she's in at the moment, which is head of retail in the non-fuels division. Not only has she done this role, she's also enrolled in the beginning of the year 2020. She's busy with her master's with the Wits Business School, where she's doing her master's in management with a focus in energy leadership.
Sure.
Wow.
Yes, that's me.
How does it feel?
Sure, it feels a bit different when somebody else is talking about your career story, but yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
All right.
And back to you, Katle.
Back to you, Katle.
Finally back to you. Right? Was never going to escape it, but yeah. So I'm Katle Khomodise. I am married for about 4 years. We've only now started deciding that we need to consider kids, so we're practicing now. So hopefully soon we'll have some, young ones coming by. I currently head up Central and East Africa for one of the leading confectionery businesses globally. And I spent a large part of my career with Procter & Gamble, where I've spent some time in Nairobi as well. We have managed a few of the countries within East Africa, and came back to South Africa, and then after a year and a half or so, the opportunity with this confectionery giant came through, and I took it head on.
Again, we've seen this happen many times. Our esteemed guests they shortchanged themselves. So I'll give you a bit of a background. So, Katlego started at the University of Pretoria. We did BCom in economics. And then I think I met Katlego in 2008 when he came for interviews at Procter & Gamble, and he joined Procter & Gamble in 2009, where he started. He was working at as a part of the distributor managers, I would call it, at the time. He did that for quite some time, and then he joined the Pick and Pay accounts team, where he was, where basically he was actually one of the people that launched Ariel in South Africa, and it was an amazing launch where he was recognized for the input that he had actually put in terms of getting an excellent launch. And then after that, he moved on to become the category manager for Pampers, which was P&G or Procter & Gamble's biggest portfolio, and I think it still is even today. And just to take a step back, whilst he was in the Pick and Pay account, it's some major achievements where I think for the first time in a long time he got Pampers to a 50% share in Pick and Pay, which was insane. And then once he'd done the category operations role for Pampers, he then was promoted to take on the market strategy and planning role for Ethiopia, so managing Ethiopia from Joburg. After a year, he felt that challenge was not challenging enough anymore, so he moved on to Kenya with Procter & Gamble. But now looking after 3 countries, which was Uganda, Ethiopia, and I think Kenya, from
Angola.
Angola.
Yeah.
And then he did that for about just over a year and a half, and then came back to South Africa to basically head up the distributor business for Procter & Gamble. And then that's when this confectionery giant that he's speaking of, which is Mondelez, came in and swooped in and took him. And where he is now, basically heading up the Central and East Africa business for Mondelez. How does it feel when?
A mouthful, yeah.
It definitely
Well,
is.
very different, yeah.
You know, part of the reason, obviously, we want to go through this route is because there's personal branding. There's an element of personal branding in terms of how you view yourself, but also how other people view you. But also at the same time, is we also find it, with guys and that are overachievers, because that's what we see you guys as. You never take stock of the achievements that you've actually done and the work that you've done. You never take the time to actually reflect and say, I've done a lot. Right. Because obviously you're always going for the next thing, because and so part of the program is about that. It's about really taking stock of the achievements that you've made. And speaking about obviously how other people view you, we've obviously we had to ask other people, in terms of to give us feedback on both of you. Some of them worked with you, some of them work for you, yeah. And some of them you work for, to give you feedback. So I don't know, Mike, you want to go with Wanda?
So Wanda, the feedback has been very consistent.
Yeah.
And that's what we always find. Whether it is your friends, your peers, people in your team, people view you in the same light, which tells me that you're a very consistent person. How you show up, how you relate to everyone, very, very consistent. So Wanda, some of the things that people said is, you're like a big sister. Mm-hmm. You're full of energy and compassion. You're an amazing leader because you have the ability they don't see you as a boss. You take people on the journey. Some of the people have also said that, as I said, you're very compassionate. Your EQ is extremely high because people is fundamentally at the core of who you are. Some of the other people also said that, you push the female agenda very hard because you believe in female empowerment, and you don't just say it, but even your actions lead to that as well. And you are an exciting person. You're great to be around. You're a fantastic mother. You're very family orientated with strong values, at the center of who you are at your core, which will also lead to some of the decisions that you'll make, in both your personal life as well as from a corporate perspective.
Cool.
And that's what people had to say about you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very heartwarming. But it does feel like me, and especially the last bit about values. And I think more so in the last couple of years in my career, I think my value sets have driven a lot of my career decisions.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know who you spoke to.
Right.
And we will not tell you.
But yeah, that does kind of sound like me. I'm a people lover. I'm a people lover. I'm passionate about developing people. I'm mentor a lot of young girls, and actually all my mentees are female. Not that I chose it that way; it kind of happened that way.
Yeah.
And I'm passionate about helping other girls find their voice. It's something I still work towards. But especially now in the positions that I'm in and the circles I get to be in and the tables I get to sit at, it breaks my heart when I see women not finding their voice. So yeah, gosh, you can talk about that forever, but yes, that does sound like me.
And I can attest to that. So we did obviously ask for feedback from other people on yourself as well. And also pretty consistent. Some of the words thrown around have been a visionary, a leader, and they were very specific about the leader because they were saying that, there are people who have positions and they manage people, but they're actually not leaders. But for you, it's more really authentic leader. You care about people. And you care about, influencing your team, into a positive result. Never happy with the status quo, so always challenging. And my favorite one was around really commands excellence from everyone he works with, not just from a work perspective, but also in his personal life, which I can also personally attest to. And then the other piece, great orator or communicator. So like I said, really be able to galvanize people around a vision that people can go for. So providing that clarity, that's just some of the things that people have said.
I really need to know who you spoke to. Purely because maybe next time there's a very good opportunity. I need them to kind of tell the potential employers all over that. But yeah, I think, I fully echo a lot of that. I mean, obviously I'm, quite happy with, what I said, but I really echo it, especially around the piece where you talk about, not being happy with the status quo. It's just one thing that I'm passionate about, where you get to a place, you ask questions, and the standard answers, that's how it's always been done. This is where we are. And you're just like, but why? You know better, but why? And I think one thing that has also helped is the day I stopped being fearful of losing my job was the day I felt liberated.
Yeah.
Because now you make decisions, this is the right thing. And sometimes I've even put it out there, you know what, after a year, if you don't like me, we can part ways. But this is where I'm going. So I think that has really helped quite a lot in terms of just people then realizing that, you know what, you will literally put your job on the line for what you believe in. So yeah.
And I mean, how did you get to that point? Because a lot of people still have that, right? In terms of, it's always about the fear of losing your job. And I'm sure probably when you started, that might have played an element, but what drove that change, or how did you get to that change?
Yeah, I mean, interesting point, because I just thought through the first 3 or 4 years of my career where I would have really been fearful, yeah? But realizing year in, year out, you're always in the top 10 percentile on performance, because there's a grading. So you then realize, you know what, I'm actually good. So if this doesn't work, I can go somewhere else and actually manage to make something work. So just firstly, making sure that you work hard enough and you stay in the top, call it top third percentile. Then you can command that confidence wherever you go to then, know that, you can put your job on the line without fear that this is the only job I can get. I mean, I know it's tough given that where we are today, lots of jobs are being lost within the industry. But one of the ways to make sure that you're always employable is just be amongst the best.
Yeah. And for you, Wanda, I mean, I saw you nodding when you were talking about the day he feared for his job. I mean,
and I think it's what I was saying earlier about finding your voice.
Yeah.
And, as he's talking about performance, I'm thinking about myself, that I've actually also been relatively a consistent person from a delivery point of view. And even till today, I don't fear that I'm going to lose my job. So values and principles drive so much of what I do in my career. And I believe that because I'm a performer, somebody's going to want me, somebody's going to need my skills. And I'm uncompromising about values. And that never used to be me, call it 10, 15 years ago when I started working. But I don't know when this light bulb happened. Actually, I do know. It was in between companies before I came into the company I'm at, where I realized that certain environments that are not necessarily aligned with your value sets, you won't flourish in. No matter how actually great you are, if the values are just not aligned, it's just not going to happen. So I lost my fear then, and I found my voice. And ever since I found my voice, and even when I'm scared to speak, it's like a weight off your shoulders once you can speak with that confidence. I resonate with what you're saying, Kakle.
And for you, Mike?
For me?
Yeah, I mean,
I think, I realized earlier on in my career that if you go to a meeting, any type of meeting, you have two people. You have the one that sits in the meeting for that hour, and they leave without making an impact, without saying anything. And you have that other person who says, okay, there are a couple of things that, are very important to me that I need to land or I need to influence in this meeting. And you got to ask yourself, which one are you? Because all of us can be that person.
Yeah.
There's also that fear that, you know what, maybe I talk too much, maybe I shouldn't say certain things. But you're going to speak about things that are passionate, that you feel close and passionate about.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about finance and for whatever it is in that meeting, that doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. You don't have to, you don't have to talk about it. But there'll come a point, maybe it's about your people, maybe it's about strategy, and you have, fundamentally, you've thought about this because it's also important that when you come to meet, you prepare.
Yeah.
You don't just rock up to a meeting like, it's a meeting, because this is your time and time is valuable. So, for me, it's always been about, saying what I think, irrespective of the audience that I'm in, or how does it going to look, what are people going to think. I'm speaking my truth.
Yeah.
And I often found that what I'm thinking and now verbalizing, a lot of people share the same sentiment. And if they don't, it's also a different perspective versus leaving that meeting and people saying, I never thought about that, or I wish I could have said this. We have that power and we own that. So it's about taking your own power and just using it, because you are employed. If you're employed, you're there to make a difference. You're not just a number.
Correct.
You have the right skill set, and it's all about self-confidence and self-belief.
And I mean, how do you build that self-confidence, right? I mean, you spoke about realizing that you're in the top, I would say, top third or top 10% of performers year in, year out, Is that what helps you with your confidence? Is the preparation part of it what helps you with your confidence? Because you spoke about in the session, you want to say something, but you have to prepare for that. How much of that influences how you portray yourself in those particular situations?
One of my favorite sayings is victory loves preparation.
Absolutely.
And it's one of the things I'll probably end up, getting a tattoo on.
Yeah.
And largely because those things go hand in hand. So I think when you're prepared, it enables you to be confident. You get flustered, and sometimes, you need to obviously breathe and do all the right things. But when you're prepared, you can be very confident.
Yeah.
And through time and, plowing and becoming consistent, this is where you realize, actually, when you look left and right, I can actually do this, right? So, unlike today, sometimes you interview and you find these very young and bright sparks, and day one, they're believing that, they need to be the CEO tomorrow. And
correct.
Okay, it's great ambition, but how are you going to do it? So I think we need to kind of balance the two. And for me, the key thing would really be the preparation.
Okay. And for you, Wanda?
I proved to myself at a very young age. I've never been the smartest kid in class.
Okay.
But I was always probably one of the most consistent. So I proved to myself from probably around primary school that if I worked hard, I would pass and I'd get the results. And every time I worked hard and I would do well in class, I started to believe that I was smart like the other smart kids. And as that kind of progressed in your earlier years, I proved to myself that if I work hard, I can also get academic colors. I wasn't the smartest kid in the class, but I would put in more hours to understand something, and then I would kill it. And then eventually all the rewards would then come. So I think by the time I hit varsity, I knew that if I worked hard, the output was going to be success. And once you've tasted some level of success, you get confident. Yes, you can tip over to arrogance, but you can get confident. Yeah.
So work ethic
Yes.
is what you kind of
It's
pin it down to.
100%. It's 100% important to me. I believe if you put in the hours, and even if you put in the hours at times when nobody notices, at some point you're going to reap those rewards.
Okay.
Yeah.
You spoke about values and how values have kind of helped you make certain decisions in your journey.
Yeah.
Can you just unpack that for us?
I will try and unpack it without sort of talking too much about the organizations.
Correct.
Because I think they're great organizations. But there was an organization I worked for, it's somewhere in that journey, that bio you were reading, where the values of that business and my values were not 100% aligned. And I realized that I can put in the hours, I can work as hard as I want to, but this garden is not where this flower is going to bloom. It's just not going to happen. And I could fight that system and try and sort of tear down walls, or I can just go find another patch where I can plant my seed and grow. And I think at some point in life, you've got to, I'm not saying give up, but understand where sort of your buck stops from a value set point of view, what you're just not prepared to do. And that's what I had to do. And I'm so glad I did, because I'm not saying the grass is greener elsewhere, but I found a patch where I'm finding a way to flourish on my own. And it's 100% aligned to my value set. And that has also helped me to do well in that environment. I'm getting promotions in that environment because it's just so aligned to what I believe in. Yeah.
So when you were going through what you were going through, you know, what were some of the challenges that you faced?
Let's be real, you know, at the end of the day, there were times when I thought, I feel like I'm wearing golden handcuffs here. You know, I've got a great job. It's financially providing for me and my family, but I feel shackled. I feel like I can't, if I leave here, am I really going to find this patch elsewhere? So the challenge was sort of playing in your head that, you know, financially, Wanda, is this a smart move for your family, for your kids? But I knew that I'm good. I know that I'm good. I know I can work hard. I know that I have skills somebody else needs. So when I found this other patch and I realized that the skills I'd learned in FMCG, I can transfer into this sector. Right. It's like I found my spark and I've been able to grow from there. So yes, there were challenges. For me, I think the biggest challenge was just getting over that, financially, what am I going to do? Is this going to work out? And also having to confront sort of your line managers that, this is not working and this is why. And having to speak up about why I'm going. Those were challenging because I you don't want to tell somebody that I just don't think that we are aligned from a value set point of view. So yeah, finding my voice in that journey really has helped me. Yeah.
Katla, have you had similar experiences in your journey?
Yeah, and I'm actually quite intrigued on one point before I kind of point on my experiences. It's just around when you lead a team and you are very happy with the team and you choose to still leave and go to a different company. How did you feel around that? Because I hear, as most people say, you leave your manager, you don't leave the company. So I'm assuming that would have been hard for you if you're leading a team, deciding, that I'm leaving for whatever values out there. How did you balance the two?
So when you say, sometimes you leave your manager, in that instance, I actually left the company. It wasn't about the managers. It was the managers could have changed. It was just the culture, the way in which they did business that wasn't aligned to my value set. So even though I was working with a team, these were people that I found and had to kind of groom together. It was the whole garden, the whole patch just didn't have the right fertilizer for me. So it wasn't a difficult decision it wasn't difficult for me to realize and recognize that this is not going to work in the long term. Yeah.
Got it. Very clear. And I think, the only point I would add that I feel is quite similar is I think I got to a point where, as much as you really like what you're doing, I just realized that the way of thinking within a specific organization was all the same. Yeah. And at that point, I just felt that, it's very difficult to, challenge when, you now start looking like you're the person who's the problem. So you then think, maybe the best thing is for me to kind of look for an opportunity elsewhere.
But I know you have experience in terms of situations like this.
Yeah, I mean, she knows. I've had plenty of these, but I think for me, my passion has always come through ever since in any organization that I've worked for, and I think when I leave that organization, that still remains, I think, as my brand in terms of I am about people, I am about growing people, and that's my passion. The business is secondary to that, and so my fights have always been around how the organization treats people, and so that's where some of the clashes would have been. So when I left the first organization, it was about, I think I've achieved what I needed to achieve. I needed a new challenge. And I knew that the next organization, what sort of challenges it had. And also it was about proving myself in that new organization. And I moved into that organization, and it was exactly what I thought it was. But I wasn't. I was like a wall. I was not gonna move from my values of I am about people, irrespective of how it was. So for me, it was about being the beacon that shines, that inspires other people to say, well, actually, this is not the right way to do things. We should actually be following that. And I drove it hard. I behaved that way, irrespective of how the organization viewed me in certain instances. And so that's always been for me the lead. Those are my values. It's always around treating people in the way that I would like to be treated, but really understanding different individuals in the teams. So I spent a lot of my time in that. So some of the organizations don't have that or didn't have that. So I felt that my job was to get that to be part of the DNA of the organization. Succeeded in some part, in some of them, in others I did really succeed. And in my current role, it's been even a lot more easier because the organization I work for fully aligned to the things that I want to do and in terms of my focus. So it's really helped a lot of people that work with me to thrive even more because we are aligned. And but that voice piece is also important because I had to, again, like Katleka was saying, stop being afraid of the unknown. So for me, my thinking was always, if I'm gonna get fired by a company, let me be fired for what I want to do, what I've done and what I've decided to do, versus being risk averse and then being fired anyway. So now I've been fired for something that I never believed in anyway. So I'd rather be fired for something I believed in, because then I can sleep well at night. So that's always been my driver.
Hi guys, if you enjoyed today's content, make sure that you go to the bottom of the screen and you subscribe. Tabine, after the subscribe, what must they do?
So click the bell notification so you get notification every time I upload a new episode.
And then once you've done that, if you really enjoy this, the feedback, make sure that you like at the bottom, share it with your family, your friends, your colleagues. And then lastly, Tabani?
Well, make sure that, you drop your comments below on what you think of the episode. And also, give us some views of what you would like us to discuss in other episodes.
Usazo Valit!
Let me take this time